guys, welcome to another episode of 3 Wide Life. I'm Megan Kolb, and this week we have the young and incredibly talented NASCAR star, Kyle Larson, talking with our very own Mike Garrity about his career in the fast lane. While Kyle claims he had a late start to the sport, I think everyone would agree that he took to the wheel like a complete natural. Today, Kyle is competing at the top level of the sport against several drivers he looked up to as a kid, including Jeff Gordon. Kyle has also taken on a new business venture, owning a wing sprint car team with Justin Marks. To kick off this episode, let's take it back to the early days, where Kyle was first introduced to racing out west.
All right, so normally when we sit down with someone and we tell them to take us all the way back to when they started, that's like a long time ago. But for you, it's actually kind of recent. Take me back to when you started racing, like your first exposure to racing, when you first looked at that and said, man, I want to try that.
Well, growing up in Northern California, my family, or my parents, were huge sprint car fans growing up, and they would go to 70 to 90 races a year just to watch before I ever got in a race car. So I was always around it. And then my dad had a really good friend who had just a little oval track they dug out in their backyard, and they'd go up there, once a month or something to run. And I don't really remember driving a whole lot, but I've seen little videos and stuff my mom has, and it looked like I was having fun. So I'm sure that's when I got the real bug to go racing. And then when I was 7, we bought a go-kart from Kyle Hurst, who runs sprint cars out in California, and started racing go-karts at Red Bluff and Cycland, and just loved it. And then you moved up to the different divisions and stuff, and got into sprint cars. I think I was the youngest ever to be allowed in California to run legally at 14, and then it's kind of been going strong since then through sprint cars, midgets, Silver Crown cars, and then a couple years ago I got hooked up with Chip Ganassi and got me into stock car racing. And it's, you say it's been not too long, but I mean, looking back, I don't know, this is my 15th season, I think. That's a long time.
Okay, so every driver has this moment when they're driving and it becomes good. Like it becomes clear, they know what feel they're looking for, and they kind of say, man, I can actually do this, I'm really good at this. When was that moment for you, or did it happen differently with each series?
Well, I think in go-karts, you always had the confidence and thought you knew what you were doing. So I don't really know particularly when I knew I was good there, but in sprint cars it took me a half a season to a full year when I really thought I was good and could do it for a career, hopefully. And even it took me until my 3rd year when I really started winning races. I only won 4 races, I think, in my first 2 seasons of running sprint cars. So my 3rd year is probably when I really knew that I could compete with anybody in the country, because even then when the Outlaws would come, I could run pretty well with them, and you get a couple opportunities to go run in the Midwest and stuff and would do okay. So probably my 3rd year was when I really knew that I could compete.
Based on what we've learned so far, Kyle Larson quickly excelled in motorsports and has success in every race series he ran. Kyle's next quest in his racing career was stock cars. Let's find out how Kyle made the decision to move to North Carolina and give things a shot.
A lot of guys that run wing stuff, I mean, they just want to run wing stuff, or a lot of guys that just run sprint cars. Like, I don't think that they look at it and say, man, I want to move up. Like, that's the ultimate goal, and they just want to run as many races as they can and win. Did you ever at that time look at it and say, I want to go do more, or did the opportunities just start presenting themselves and you couldn't turn them down?
I always knew I think when I was 13, 14 years old, that you had to get to the Midwest if you wanted to go somewhere in your career, and that was in non-wing sprint cars and midgets. So I knew, growing up in Northern California, that's really not big there, so I knew I had to get my start in wing sprint cars and hopefully get to that point. And then once you get there, you kind of run whatever you want, really. You can run wing sprint cars, non-wing, midgets, Silver Crown cars. That's kind of what I did. So and you get to race a lot too. So wing sprint cars, you can race once or twice a weekend. When you're in Indiana, you can race 3-4 nights a week, then fly somewhere else, go race a wing sprint car. So I always wanted to race whatever type of car I could. So I didn't really pick out one car I just wanted to stick to and focus on.
that was Jeff Gordon's model. Did you follow that model because you knew Jeff did that, left the West Coast and ended up in Indiana, or was that just kind of what you knew in your heart you had to do?
I think it stood out from Jeff because he's probably the first one to do that, and then Brad Sweet, Robert Ballou, Justin Grant, lots of guys, Josh Wise. A lot of people came from California to go there, and it seemed like their careers were working out. So kind of knew that was the next step from California.
Okay, so how did the actual call or the interaction happen to get you to stock cars? I'm always curious to find out how that went down, because we see it in movies when you get the call and there's always family around and everybody celebrates, and it never happens that way. So how did that all happen?
Well, I came to North Carolina at the end of, I don't know, 10 or 11, and met with Jeff Dickerson, and he took me to a few different race shops. I think, Penske, Roush, Waltrip, and Chip's place, and Hendrick, and then Chip's place. And Chip was the most interested in me for sure. I mean, if you knew Chip, you probably do, but his conversations last like 5 minutes, and that's pretty much how long it lasted. I met him, shook his hand, and he's like, all right, let's do a deal. And that's kind of how fast it all worked. And the other teams were interested, but Chip didn't have any development guys at that point, so he was all in from the get-go. And then when I got the call to move up to the Cup Series, it was another 1 minute phone call. So it wasn't your typical college football athlete or something. It was pretty quick and easy, kind of how I like it.
Kyle Larson's popularity in the NASCAR series is growing as he continues to run well. While his first Cup win hasn't happened yet, we talk with Kyle about what he needs to do to make it happen and where it may take place.
All right, we sat down with Tony, and one of the things that I was really curious about, he's run well in a lot of different race cars. You've run well in a lot of different race cars. Withstanding an IndyCar, the only one that you haven't been in, you've done really well in a lot of different type of vehicles. Do you take a feel with you with each of these type of vehicles, like a midget to a sprint car, to a silver crown car, to a cup car, or how do you adapt to each of those vehicles differently?
Yeah, I don't know if I can pinpoint a certain feel. I just think me running so many different types of cars in 2011 and 12 really helped me become versatile and figure out things and situations really quick. I guess midgets, nomming sprint cars, and sprint cars and silver crowns, they all kind of drive similar. But then when you come to the stock car stuff, it's a lot different. And you can take a certain feel, but that feel might not be right. But I don't know, I think just racing a lot of different stuff helped me adapt quick to what I'm in now. So, but don't know exactly the right or the certain feel, but right. I'm sure I don't know, it's just instinct, I guess.
It just comes naturally.
Yeah.
Tony said that when he got in the IndyCar, he wasn't great. And he put, I think it was Eddie Cheever at the time in, and Eddie ran some laps and said, this is what you need to do. Have you had a teammate that's been able to do that, like testing nationwide or truck or even at the Cup level?
I don't think I haven't had, Jamie or anybody get in my car, and, we haven't done anything like that, but we can, now look at telemetry and, throttle pressure, brake pressure, and I can just figure out what I'm doing wrong just by looking at the squiggly lines on the computer screen. So, yeah, I mean, some racetracks we have a totally different style, and it helps to probably for him, if I'm better than he is, he can look at mine, or I can look at his, and you'll learn a lot off of it. So, but I've never had anybody, or not yet at least, jump in my car and go out there and tell me what it feels like if I'm way off.
So truck at Rockingham or nationwide the whole last couple of years, you've just kind of had to develop your own style and your own feel and your own feedback.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think growing up racing sprint cars and stuff, you have a pretty, you give good feedback, and a pretty simple feedback too, where I feel like I don't confuse my crew chief. I'm just give him the basic information, and he can work from that. So I think it's all been good.
What's basic information? I mean, are you talking shock travels and?
No, that's not basic to me.
So you're tight here, loose here.
Yeah, I basically just break down the corner into 3 or 4 different sections and kind of tell them what I'm feeling there, and you know, they got the big brain, so they can figure it out.
So Kyle, everybody is their own worst critic. In your opinion, what tracks do you struggle at in a stock car?
I think I'm good on, you know, 1.5 mile intermediate tracks to even super speedways. I'm okay. It's the short track stuff that I feel like I struggle on. The type of racing where you have to use a lot of brake and you know, make a U-turn and go the other way. It's way different than sprint car racing. You know, where you try and carry as much speed in the corner as you can. You use brake, but you don't try and kill momentum or anything. And so like Martinsville and Richmond and tracks like that, I feel like I'm really bad at. So those are your 2 important racetracks that you gotta be good at. So I'd say the short track stuff I probably need to be better at.
Where's your first Cup win gonna happen, if you had to guess?
My first Cup win.
Just any track, even if we've already been there and we're not going.
Yeah, I would say Homestead. It sucks it's the last race, but that's my favorite track. But I think any 1.5 mile or 2 mile racetrack, you know, that's wore out, that you can move around and search for grip, is kind of what I am best at. I think we'll be good at Indy too, so that'd be a good win or a good track to get your first Cup win at.
How cool would it be for you to? I mean, you went around Indy last year nationwide, right? Did that bring some emotions out? I mean, even just getting to take some laps around the Brickyard?
Yeah, I didn't. You know, last year I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal at all to go race at Indy in a stock car. It's just, you know, stock car at Indy is not as cool as an Indy car, but yeah. Just, you know, walking in through the garage and
seeing your name above the stall.
It was awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to go back to Indy, and you know, I think if I won the Brickyard, that'd be amazing.
Everything Kyle Larson has done in his career, he has taken to at a young age. He is now an owner of a wing sprint car team with driver and business entrepreneur Justin Marks, being one of the youngest team owners. Let's learn more about how Kyle Larson decided to become a team owner in the first place, and how involved is he really?
Okay, so you jumped up to sprint cars, you were the youngest. Then you jumped up to truck pretty early, to nationwide really early, and to Cup super early. You've done well in all of them, so it's been a success. And now you're a team owner with Larson Marks in your first year at Cup, which is early. Most people thought it would take you a couple years to get comfortable and then do your team thing. Is that in your nature to jump in head first early? Is there something about the way that you're wired that makes you more successful doing that than waiting?
Yeah, I think so. I've never really thought of that. I think maybe I just take it as a challenge, and everything I've ever done growing up has been pretty early, I guess, except for starting actually racing when you're 7, and 7 years old is now pretty old, but moving up into different divisions and stuff, you know, we're always young and everything, and I think it's just a challenge as well as you know, a fun challenge anyways, and you know, being a team owner with Justin Marks, who really does the majority of the stuff as far as being the owner. It's a lot of fun. I more communicate like competition stuff with Steve Succi and Shane, and yeah, I let Justin handle the business side. So it's not really a whole lot different for me right now, but I'd like to be more involved somewhere down the line.
What's the biggest challenge been of being a team owner that, you know, at this level, this early?
Staying involved in it has been kind of hard. You know, you're so busy on NASCAR weekends, and then you know, during the week, even when they're racing, it's hard to keep up a whole lot and know what's going on at the track. And even when you have a sponsor thing going on, you're always trying to check your phone, and that's been tough. But and I was surprised too. It really wasn't that tough to go watch them race. You know, I thought, you know, I'd go watch them and I'd be like, oh, I want to get in, which I did, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So those are 2 of the tougher things, I guess.
Last year was a tough year for wing sprint cars. Tony had his accident, and we lost Jason. has this been kind of therapeutic for you to be able to watch these guys, knowing that it may not be the right time for you to get in a wing sprint car right now?
Yeah, and I want to focus on the stock car stuff. I'd love to be racing the sprint cars all the time, but I do understand it's smart probably not to, and get my career developed more before I kind of jump headfirst back into sprint cars and go race a lot. So I definitely think Tony's and Jason's accidents have everybody thinking. All of us drivers that did race a lot of different cars, we're all you have it in the back of your mind a little bit, as well as team owners and sponsors. So I understand it, and I've actually enjoyed racing just stock cars so far this year. It's been crazy because I thought I'd be driving myself nuts, not racing a sprint car, but it's not been that bad at all, really.
Do you think that's because you're running up front? Because as a nice surprise, you are running top 10 a lot this year. And normally people give a rookie their first year to go make a ton of mistakes and run around 20th. But I mean, consistently you've been in the top 10. Do you think that helps?
I think running well helps, and then also I'd say I'm more busy this year racing, or between the racing and the testing and everything. I'm probably in a car more often this year than I have been in the past couple years racing sprint cars,
Really?
over 100 times a year. But we've tested almost every week for the past 2 months, and then you have 3 or 4 days at the track that you're in a car. So it's definitely, I'd say, busier now than I have ever been.
Are you having more fun?
I would say I'm having just as much fun. I don't know if I'm having more fun or less fun or not. I'm still having a blast. So it's been great. But like I said, I don't know if I'm having more fun or less fun or what.
A lot of guys we talk to, like Casey, he has a team and his family's very involved. You talked about, your parents are huge race fans to start. Are they involved in this team, or how much are they involved in your racing just in general?
Yeah, they're not really involved in this team at all. And then as far as my racing goes at the NASCAR races, they kind of just want to be a race fan and they go sit in the grandstands, bring their radios so they can listen to my communications and stuff. They're not the parents that sit on the pit box or get too involved, because I don't think the race team's like that, and I think that's great, because I don't want to have my parents or my team be like, oh, you're gonna have to tell your parents to back up because they're getting in the way. So there's sometimes they'll come to the racetrack and I don't even really see them ever, because they're just sitting in the stands watching the races. So I think it's kind of good that they do that.
So you're telling me that at a racetrack, a fan may be sitting next to your parents and not even know it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson will always stay true to his sprint car racing roots, but for now, he's decided to focus more on stock car racing and growing his professional NASCAR career. Speaking of growing, not only is Kyle growing his career, but he also has a growing family as well.
That's pretty cool. Tell me about your family growing. You got a baby on the way. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend, Caitlin, we're expecting in late December. So, and then last night we actually found out it's a boy, so I'm excited about that. We could go do some racing here in about 4 or 5 years and have some fun. It's nice. Millbridge is getting bigger now, so hopefully in a handful of years it'll be even bigger and to have a lot of fun. But yeah, it's been exciting for me. A lot of stuff going on. Really, we got the house and then found out about the baby, and it's all kind of snowballed really quick, but I'd rather have it like that than wait.
It seems like you don't like to wait, so
I know, it's
maybe
crazy.
when you retire you'll be able to take some time and let everything happen naturally, but you're like...
I'll be bored probably if I retire. I don't know what I would do.
We always ask about expansion, and I know you just started and this is a one-car team right now, but any plans, different series, different drivers, expansion, anything like that?
I've never really talked to Justin about that. That's probably more his call than my call, but I'd say in a few years, definitely down the road, I think we'd like to have a 2-car team and slowly evolve it, kind of like how Casey did and stuff. But for the time being, I'd say for the next at least year or 2, maybe even 3 years, I bet Shane will be our guy. And next year they're running with the World of Outlaws, so they're just probably run about 50 or so races this year to kind of, brand new teams to get all the tweaks and everything worked out, and figure out what chassis they want to run, engine combinations, and everything, and hit the road next year full bore and hopefully go for a championship.
Now Justin's a driver, and he's a pretty good driver. He's run Cup down. Has he tried to get in the wing car yet and shake it down at a test or anything?
Not yet. I'd love to be there to watch him do it. I think he would have a blast, and I'd like to go testing too. So yeah, I think Justin would really enjoy it. He's got to run his dirt modified some at Volusia and did pretty well with that. So cool. I think he'd really love the horsepower and the little weight that's in a sprint car.
Well, good luck on that. Good luck on the team growing, the family growing, and the rest of the year. We appreciate you sitting down and talking with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of 3 Wide Life, and a special thanks to Kyle Larson, Larson Marks Racing, and Ganassi Racing for being a part of the show. Be sure to check out our website and all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where we are constantly providing you with race updates. Until next time, keep living the 3 Wide Life.